may not be this way in Des Moines, but it certainly is in California and probably Massachusetts. You're swapping out, and you're going to still need to borrow money to go into your next deal. You're going to either really, really crank your payment up, which not a lot of people want to do, or you're going to borrow less money.
Good segue. You mentioned homes. I want to pull something up because the big ticket items that people buy are cars and homes. And home prices, I've got a chart here showing historical home prices. This is going back to, my gosh, late 1800s. But what it's going to show here, a lot of the return in the price of a home, being that it is a physical asset, it's obviously going to be driven by supply and how many homes are available. But what you're also going to see is going to drive the price of a home is cost of goods, cost to build a home. And so they're linked to inflation.
Labor.
That too, wages, everything like that. So they're really linked to inflation. So you can see that home prices have gone pretty much straight up for the last solid decade. And where we feel this though, the next chart I've got is actually showing the affordability of it. So now that the home prices have gone up so much, and now at the same time that rates, what are mortgages at now? 7?
Come down to 7.
Come down to 7. So you can see on this chart what it's actually costing folks. So the price of homes in blue. The actual affordability of it has come down in the red. So this is the least affordable homes have been since right around the peak of 2007. And so that's where we see people having a tough time for sure trying to get in a house. That's why we're seeing a lot of people sitting in rentals because they can't afford a home.
Well, it is the same story. Part of the reason that people don't want to sell their homes, the typical sort of upgrade. Okay, we have equity in this house. Let's go ahead and upgrade. You're getting people that are rolling out of sub 4. I'm probably being generous. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are sub 3% rates, and they don't want to swap that out for a 7% rate. It really should do the numbers, but if you're borrowing, let's say $500,000, that's your mortgage size, and you're paying a payment based on a 2 3/4 or 3% rate. For the same thing right now, you're only going to be able to borrow about $300,000 for the same payment.
Well, and the appreciation of the homes too, right? You're not necessarily getting a major upgrade from where you were.
Right. So. But if you locked into that rate 6-7 years ago, you probably have some decent equity that based on the chart you just said and you showed you got some movement up, and especially in coastal areas. Same thing, West Coast, East Coast. It may not be this way in Des Moines, but it certainly is in California and probably Massachusetts. You're swapping out, and you're going to still need to borrow money to go into your next deal. You're going to either really, really crank your payment up, which not a lot of people want to do, or you're going to borrow less money. And so
you
really can't make a deal happen with, from a traditional standpoint where you're coming out of about the same rate and going about into the same rate, in your next deal. So I think it's, we all have clients that are based in real estate. It's tough to go find listings, and it's tough to go find, sometimes tough to go find buyers right now. So it's slowed down that part of housing.
So segueing from mortgage rates, which again are very tied to fixed income rates, because one's a borrower, when you're an investor. So the one positive thing is fixed income rates are up, and so fixed income investors, your conservative investors, or even conservative parts of your portfolio, you can actually generate return on. So we still do have a slightly inverted yield curve. In other words, the front end of the yield curve is a little bit higher than the longer end. But all the way out over 30 years, we got that chart, you can see that you can basically get 4.3% all the way out on treasuries from any time period, from 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, you can see at the top, all the way out to 30 years. So that's a big difference from what we've had in the past. And the one thing that, wanted to point out, because this is what we're doing for clients, is treasuries are paying about the same rate as CDs. And people are comfortable with CDs because they're used to CDs with the bank and all that. But CDs are fully taxable. So, and in California, that's a big deal. So CD rate, you can see at the top, like a 5-year, for example. CD rate's 4.35, treasury rate's 4.315. But the difference when you do the tax equivalent yield, treasury doesn't pay California state tax. So if you're, your 9.3% tax bracket, you're talking about 5.6% tax equivalent yield versus that 4.35%. So it's a big difference. Anything you guys want to add on that?
No, I use those facts and figures quite a bit. The one thing there, there's a lot of math on that page, but if you looked at that closely, one thing you'll notice too, which I think is evident what we're trying to do, is that this is very rare for people to see that they're going to get paid. You know, if you look at that first column or the first row that says U.S. Treasuries, that 3, 6, and 9 months is paying more than a 30-year. And so it's very new and very confusing for a lot of investors. Why are they getting paid less to lock their money up for 30 years versus locking it up for 30 days? And the reason behind that, well, I mean, time will tell if it's accurate or not, but the reason behind that is because investors are betting that rates are going down. And so they're willing to lock up further out, knowing that they're getting less money today in the anticipation that they're going to make more money later. And so that's what we're seeing. That's hence that inverted yield curve. You're getting paid less locking it up, but time will tell if you're actually going to end up making more.
But that's where, you know, the whole cash thing comes in, that people are excited about cash rates. But
Right.
as you can see with an inverted yield curve, the market expects rates to be lower later. That's typically the case when you're in a higher rate environment. So if you're in cash, it feels good today, but it may not feel so good in 18 months.
It might be a teaser.
Cash trap.
Yeah.
I heard somebody call it a cash trap. It's totally true. But
Well,
by
those
the
balances
time
are sitting at highs, right? I mean, the amount of cash on hand right now that people are having and sitting in money markets are near all-time highs.
and it feels pretty good to earn 5. But when they go into a rate cutting cycle, it's not 5 for very long. Boom, boom, boom. You get a couple legs down, and then pretty soon you're looking around going, it's 3. Why don't we go out and, you know, why don't we try to go find something? Oh, well, we missed it. Yeah. You know, the 5% 1 year number is no longer 5. It's 3 also.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, and that's by design. I've talked to a lot of people about it, that, you know, how this whole all works is that the Fed and, you know, the government, anybody doesn't have control of inflation. It's sort of a wildfire that you're hoping to tame. And the reason that they raise rates is to encourage people to keep money in cash, not put money in the market, not put money into businesses, not put money into into circulation. And that, by definition, should help lower inflation. So they're giving you incentive to do this. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, because, you know, everyone likes to earn 5% on cash. But at the same time, it's a temporary solution that when they don't want to give incentive anymore and the economy's not doing as well, that's where rates start getting cut. That's where your cash rate starts getting cut. And then they're doing the opposite. They're incentivizing you to put money into projects, to put money into the economy and, you know, stimulate. So it's a tool. You just got to know how it works.